The deposit wasn't drained to zero. I still had a threefold increase left. I don't really work with anything, I just drop in sometimes for fun.
I see. Have you ever been stopped out of trades in the market?
You can't do everything at once. So you're an investor, you've decided, right? Then just be an investor. I made decisions for a whole fortune. The market just crashed. All right, give me 5 times my money. I realized that I was taking a risk. I don't need to be taught that. It's a funny situation. I started participating in the competition in the robot category.
Hello everyone, you're tuned in to the Axiomica channel. Today, as always, we have the most unusual and incredible guests. Today our guest is Farida. Hello Farida.
Hello.
Not long ago, I interviewed you at Renissa's forum when the BTC Talk forum was held.
Yes, it did.
And somehow, I don't even know how, but our interview got 1,200,000 views on my Instagram. And a lot of viewers asked for the full interview with you. So I'm really glad it turned out this way. Today you're here with us, and I've prepared some interesting questions that are of interest to me and our audience, and I think you'll also enjoy recalling these things.
All right, thank you for the invitation. Let me introduce myself to your subscribers and guests of your channel. My name is Farida Javdatovna, but you can just call me Farida. And I'm glad in general to be here, and well, I do have something to share with you.
Okay? Let's move on to the questions then. When we talked before, you shared a lot about trading. So my first question is, how did you start your career as a trader, and what attracted you to this profession in the first place?
That's an interesting question, and actually, it was a funny situation. I knew absolutely nothing about trading, stock markets, or exchanges until I was 40 years old. I moved from Uzbekistan to Russia in 2001. By that time, I was already quite old, and I happened to come into possession of Gazprom shares by chance. It was part of an inheritance. I received Gazprom shares, and I had absolutely no idea what they were, since I didn't even know that Gazprom actually existed. But since I'm a curious and active person, I found some information in the then very popular newspaper Izrukva Ruki, where there was an advertising campaign by a brokerage company talking about shares. I went there, and it's important to note that I'm mentioning these specific dates for a particular reason. It was precisely December 21st, 2001. That is, as I later clearly realized, many investors were already closing their positions well before the upcoming winter holidays and all the associated preparations. I came in and asked what it was that I had in my hands. They told me, shares that you can buy and sell. All right, the whole buy and sell concept I understood well because I'm a manager, a former commercial director of large enterprises, and I simply didn't bother to ask if I could buy or sell those shares with them. I didn't even understand that. So I found a depository through some speculators, lost 10% of the amount, and sold the shares.
Sorry to interrupt. You first went to the stock exchange or an organization, right?
To a broker.
You went to the brokers and they explained to you what kind of product you had in your hands.
Yes.
But you didn't use their services to buy or sell. You went through some third parties, right? And lost a significant amount.
10% to the speculators who organized the sale through the depository. That's what I lost. And with this cash, this fiat money, I went back to them, to the brokers. Then they told me that I could have done it with them as well. Well, fine. Then things got even more interesting. The girl who met me there, the consultant, I said to her, "Here, please, take my money." And so they opened an account for me. They took my entire amount, which was actually quite substantial and significant for that particular time period. Well, in today's modern equivalent, that would approximately be about $5,000, a considerable sum indeed. And then I asked, all right, the account is set up. What do we do next? They said, you can buy shares, but let's do it after the winter holidays, because the situation right now is... They explained it to me in a few words. I said, I don't know how to wait and I don't want to. Let's buy shares. She says, which ones? I say, how would I know what kind of stocks there are? I don't know anyway. I say, what would you recommend? She says, well, blue chips.
Yes.
Again, it was so incomprehensible to me. I mean, for me, it was a completely wild market. She says, well, basically, you can buy Sberbank shares without any risk. I say, all right. We bought Sberbank shares, but there were only a few days left before the holidays, and I was still curious about my activity and where my money had gone. I asked how I could find out if you have any training or a presentation about your company. She said, well, basically, we can introduce you to it. There were literally just a couple of days left before New Year and their holidays. What did I hear when they gave me a brief presentation? What did I hear? The first thing I heard about was leverage. Since I'm a restless person who loves money and wants to have it, leverage really caught my interest. Then, since I was basically classified as a qualified investor, I was entitled to 5 times leverage.
So, am I understanding this correctly? You were given access to the market, you were qualified as an investor based on your amount at the time, and on the stock market, you were allowed to trade with 5 times leverage, right?
Before they let me trade, they hadn't explained to me yet that I could actually trade. They said that 5 times leverage was available. Again, I needed an explanation of what 5 times leverage meant. They explained it to me, and since I'm someone who's greedy for money and new opportunities, I said, all right, give me 5 times leverage. The girl there honestly almost fell off her chair. She said, are you serious, ma'am? You came here not knowing what stocks are, not knowing what the market is, not knowing anything about the exchange, and you want 5 times leverage right away? You're taking a huge risk, she said. I said, I understand that I'm taking a risk. You don't need to teach me that at all. Let's do 5 times leverage. She said, no way, absolutely not. Do whatever you want, but I won't show you how to do that, and I won't do it myself. All right, I didn't argue with her, just turned around and left. On January 10th, I came back to the brokerage firm when they resumed operations, and the market, Spurbank, went up by 10%. I quickly did the math, went up to her and said, see what you've done.
So basically, if you had entered before the holidays with leverage, naturally, somewhere in a long position, your entry would have been from $5,000 and 5
Plus 50%.
plus 5,000 plus.
Yes.
Yeah, it sounds really cool.
Yeah, it would have been cool, especially for me because honestly, back then there weren't even joint stock companies in Uzbekistan, so I couldn't really understand it. And then, well, I forgave her, so to speak, but I told her that she would have to teach me. She says, unfortunately, we don't have any individual training courses. There's only a general presentation for clients. I say, that's not good enough for me. I've already listened to your presentation once. I ask, who can I talk to resolve this? She says, well, we've never had anything like that before. I say, all right, where is your director's office? I went to the director, asked how much the training costs, basically how much they invest in these presentations for several groups of trainees. I said, I'll pay, so you'll train me. Since I was apparently the first person like this in their experience, they assigned me a consultant, and I came to the dealing room. They just opened a trading account for me and showed me how to work with it. They showed me how to buy and how to sell, and I started learning. It was already January of the year 2002.
Yes. Here it is, the month of January, the year 2002. It turns out that you started studying the market and your first deal when you had already made it to the market.
Yes, I made my first deal in 5 minutes.
Right away?
She showed me where to click, and that was it. The button, as I always said later, which button to press. And that was all. They showed me the button, and right away I started pressing it, without any of that 10% of the deposit stuff. No, it was 100% of the deposit.
So, am I right in understanding that you started trading immediately with your full deposit and with leverage?
No. They hadn't shown me that part yet. They really resisted showing me that for a very, very long time, yes. But in principle, thank you very much. Somehow I calmed down after what happened on January 10th and decided to really study it. At that time, as I said, not only was it a fairly large brokerage company, broker credit service, but they didn't even have any kind of individual training materials, nothing tailored for private traders. It was hard to find any materials, but I was persistent, even though I had a family and family difficulties, and I was just a recent migrant dealing with citizenship and all that. There were a lot of issues holding me back from dedicating all my time just to this, just to studying. So there were breaks, but I kept at it persistently, and it came easily to me. It came very easily because basically my profession was a manager, a top manager at one of the companies. So buying and selling was already familiar to me. I was familiar with building different strategies, familiar with working with risks. So psychologically, I was basically prepared for this. That's how my journey in trading began.
Cool. Very interesting, Frida, fascinating. At that time, it really was quite difficult, wasn't it? There was no information available for investing. I think that probably at that time, private investing was also quite rare because it was mostly companies that would come in to buy certain stocks and make transactions on the market.
Yes, there were very few private investors because in our dealing room there were literally only about 10 people. Well, there was also a separate VIP zone, but that was for those traders who worked with large sums. How did they even work? At that time, there was no such thing as a private individual trader who would take control of money. They worked on their capital.
Yes.
They were thoroughly taught. They patiently sat and diligently came when they had the opportune moment, and then were carefully controlled under the direct supervision of experienced consultants who were working within the brokerage company. But in order to conduct any financial transactions separately, acting as individual speculators, in principle, this was an exceptionally rare occurrence, almost unheard of in practice.
Yes. Okay. But then I'll ask the second question. This one is a bit more interesting, and it leads us to what you were initially forbidden to do. Please tell us about your first experience trading futures. Let's not talk about futures yet. Let's take leverage for now, and then we'll move on to another market where there are futures.
Yes, before futures, because I hadn't gotten to them yet. They really just didn't even show them to me. At that time, hardly anyone talked about futures. For those investors who were around, it was basically a forbidden topic for them. But many were already trading with 5 times leverage. They were using leverage, meaning their margin was at 5 times. And I pretty much got into that right away too. I didn't spend much time messing around with stocks and started using 5 times leverage. I'm not saying, well, I did withdraw a large sum later, of course, because I had to take care of some family organizational matters. And then I started working with smaller amounts because I realized I'm not an investor. I needed things to move quickly. I needed to buy. I needed to sell. I needed to make some money to live on. Because I'm a displaced person, I need apartments. I need a lot of things. I really needed them. Honestly, I still need a lot of things now. That's how it is. And then there was family, and well, it just kept growing from there. When you first start feeling the euphoria of things going well, and you're basically starting to master a new profession, I immediately treated it as a profession, no question about it. And that's when you start to relax, meaning you lose that grip, there's no more fear. You start to think you can do anything, that everything is possible for you. And then the losses begin.
Mhm.
I didn't have to wait long either before those losses started happening. So it's not like everything was rosy, that everything was great. I lost money, though I never told anyone in my family about it. And it went on like a roller coaster. Sometimes I had money, sometimes I didn't, back and forth. Literally 2 or 3 years went by. Why? Then I got a bit distracted from the market because another language came into my life. I needed to get an education, as I decided for myself that would be recognized in the Russian Federation. So in 2003, I enrolled to get a second higher education at the Academy of Law and Court. So now I'm also a lawyer.
Tell me, please, you worked actively with the market for 2 years, and it helped you relax a bit when it came to your fears. Nowadays, this is called FOMO in crypto language. Still, you decided to leave the market because you felt that your initial fear was already gone. Is that correct?
Yes, I developed a certain confidence, felt like I had mastered everything, that everything was going well. But from the very beginning, my attitude was that I would only do this when I had the opportunity. I couldn't set aside my other responsibilities, which, like any mother of a citizen, I had at that time, especially since I was taking care of my sick mother. There were just a lot of things I needed to take care of.
Yes.
And I'm certainly not saying that I came every single day from the early morning hours until the late evening to this particular dealing center where I diligently traded. No, I only came when I truly had the valuable opportunity and sufficient free time. Moreover, my personal hobbies and interests have significantly changed over time, such as pursuing and successfully obtaining a comprehensive education in law, and that important endeavor also consumed a considerable amount of my precious time and effort.
It turns out that you went to study and finished your studies. After how long? After how many years there? How much time passed before you returned to the market again? As I understand it, you came back to the stock market again, right?
Yes. Then,
What
okay, just a moment.
It's important to understand what prompted you and what had to happen for you to return again. So what happened? Was it something that happened in the market, or was it something that happened in your life? Why did you take that second step?
You misunderstood a little. I actually never left the market. I was doing everything in parallel. I was studying at the same time and also coming up with other ideas to start a business. And moreover, one of the reasons I decided to study was because I have two sons and I needed connections. Connections because the Russian Federation is a new country for me. I needed connections, and I decided that the founders, the Supreme Court of the Russian Federation, would be a good place to get both an education and connections. So I was basically doing all of this in parallel: family, studies, and the stock market. Somehow I managed to balance it all. By the way, there was this thing when people found out what I did, because I was getting my second higher education part-time, not full-time. So I had the time. Basically, when I said I was a trader, a financial trader, no one understood, not even the majors. In the police, where my classmates were studying with me, they all called me a rider.
Why rider?
Well, back then the term trader wasn't really a widespread concept. They didn't even know that such a thing existed.
Interesting.
Yeah, this was the early 2000s. Trader wasn't a common word. Now, damn, every other person is a trader. If you have a smartphone in your hand, you're already a trader. No, there was no such concept back then.
Yes. Okay. Well, then perhaps we'll go a little further. And I really want to understand what changes in the market were most significant for you, starting from 2001. What situations have you, up to this day, already lived through, seen those situations that were impossible to predict?
Predict, yes. I will say, this is the Georgian War.
Yes. What year is this?
It was the year 2007.
2007?
Yes. 2007, the end of 2007 and 2008 affected.
What happened to the market?
With the market, it was all parallel. These years, 2007, 2008, 2009, this is also the financial crisis in the USA.
Yes.
Mortgage crisis. The market just crashed. It was something terrible. Well, in terms of numbers, for example, I was working in the markets at the time. I was already working steadily and had developed a strategy for myself. Basically, I mostly worked short, and that's still my position now.
So, playing on the decline, that's about you?
Yes, that's about me. And at that time, I made very good money, definitely. Even though these were negative events for the entire population, I earned very well. But the markets themselves, of course, it was scary. The people I mentioned, who were sitting on their large capital with five-fold leverage, they lost everything, absolutely everything, and left the market.
And the projects they invested in, were those mostly foreign markets or Russian?
No, at that time there was no talk of foreign markets. It was mostly they were only in blue chips. Back then, as they now call them, memes, I was searching for various memes among the exchange listings of different companies, for example. I can even say briefly, I found the Moscow GOM. I was intrigued by the information that they were preparing some new collection and something else. I checked, is it traded on the exchange? Yes, it is traded. But back then, it was still considered a third-tier stock, not even second-tier, but third-tier. Well, after observing, gathering information, and looking for technical analysis, there was none. It was just flat.
There was about the news.
Yes, it was just flat, that's all. But I took the risk and bought it, and I made money on it. Not right away, literally, probably about 2 or 3 weeks passed. I bought one share for 22 rubles, I remember, and then I sold it after this time for 25 rubles, or 250 rubles.
It turns out to be 9 calves.
That is, right now, at this stage, these are these memes.
Yeah.
You were there for a while, then left, I forgot about it, withdrew and closed it.
It sounds really quite interesting that at some point in the future, shares of the current GUM could potentially be considered meme tokens, as if in some alternative universe or reality.
Well, that's exactly how it was. Then those shares disappeared altogether. Either they were bought out or something else happened. I didn't follow it anymore. But this ability of mine to find these kinds of stocks, just like people look for coins now, earned me quite a nice gift from Moscow from a leading company.
Could you please kindly share with us, back then, how truly difficult was it to properly and effectively select such projects, and what crucial factors should you have focused on when diligently deciding whether to acquire these shares or not?
You know, that time was no different from now. You always have to approach it from every angle. That is, you need both fundamental analysis and technical analysis. And insider information is important too. And above all, the market is built on people's psychology. If you're under stress or going through some kind of turmoil in your life, you shouldn't approach the market. Well, you can if you have some capital set aside somewhere. Let's move on to crypto, on spot.
Yes, indeed.
It lies there without margins, without shoulders, without anything. Here is one that was just bought. This is the market. It goes in waves. It will always return to the price you bought. It's not scary. Let 10 years pass, 20 years pass. This means you won't lose your money. Anywhere else you go, you'll lose money.
Yes?
That's for sure. And that's why I'm talking about this gum example. First, I gathered some information, some of it insider, some from other sources, because I looked at the volumes, saw what was happening, noticed that accumulation of volumes was going on, and simply, well, I didn't go in there with any leverage or anything like that. I just bought the shares, and I wasn't afraid.
So, touching on the topic of investment technology in such projects, I'd like to ask a question. Could you please tell us about the most significant lesson you've learned from your trading experience? What was the key lesson for you, the one that still comes to mind whenever you invest in any projects, whether it's the stock market or the crypto market, it doesn't matter?
Let's clarify something. First of all, I'm not an investor, I'm a speculator, an active speculator. These are different categories of people in the stock market. That's why I don't have investments in the stock market. Oh, well, now I'm moving from the stock market to crypto. Right now I'm interested in crypto exchanges. I left the stock market a long time ago for some objective reasons. I got a bit upset with that brokerage company and said, I've had enough. And then there were some family circumstances as well. Let's wrap up with the stock market. So how was it for me? This was in 2007, 2008. I think this moment will be very interesting. No matter how much of a guru you are in technical analysis or, say, in fundamental analysis, and as calm as you might be, at that time I was already, well, let's say, a respected trader. In other words, I was already a professional by then. No matter how confident you are in your actions, everything can change in a single second. That is, it was the announcement of war with Georgia. The markets crashed. The RTS, I think, dropped by about 15% right away. I can confidently say that was absolutely the most terrifying and scariest thing that has ever happened to me. That was back in the days when the market was not yet open for 24 hours a day, unlike the way the stock market operates continuously now, which is a significant difference. You come in the morning, turn on your computer, and see that your order books aren't moving. In other words, you have no buyers, only sellers. That's it. And you have no idea when buyers will show up. As soon as a potential buyer does indeed appear, your price drops by a significant 5%, just like that, almost instantaneously. For example, I'll tell you now, I was actively managing financial assets at that particular time. I had previously bought shares in Sberbank. It experienced a dramatic fall from approximately 120 rubles down to a mere 9 rubles, a truly substantial decrease in value. So at that time, blue chips, yes, they lost 80, 90%. These are blue chips, not those second and third tier stocks that disappeared from the market. Collapse. I actually bought Sberbank shares for 930 or 940, I don't remember exactly, for an investor.
Okay.
But you also have to learn how to be an investor. The investor would run to me every time the price went up by a ruble, asking me to sell the shares, to sell him the shares. Sell everything, sell everything.
After all, he's paying for the service, and as soon as he sees the first results, he asks, so when are we going to sell?
Yes, yes, yes. But at that point I said, either you leave or you stop coming to me. But in the end, when it was about 19 rubles or so, he made me sell them.
Foma decided that was it, enough. We took what we could from the market, no need to take more.
I sold. I already told the director, don't send anyone else to me. These investors just distract me. And by that time, I was already working only with futures. That was the RTS index and the euro-dollar pair. Those were the main things, my main focus. And we finished everything successfully. The Georgian War, a significant and impactful conflict, began. I truly love a bear market, and this particular one was especially dynamic and incredibly active. Basically, in just a short period of a month and a half, I successfully made over 3,000%, which was an astonishing and remarkable achievement. No one else in the stock market had achieved that result. I was satisfied and happy. On my birthday, my brokerage company greeted me with flowers and all the other things that go along with flowers.
On my birthday, we came into trade? No, let them not trade.
Yes, I haven't missed it anymore. To trade. And why am I talking about this? There was a mistake here. I acted unprofessionally. I left my positions open overnight. I came in and didn't open up, didn't sit down for trading right away, didn't prepare the pot. Instead, I saw these tables set, the happy faces of the brokers. I thought, it's fine. 5 minutes won't make a difference.
But the market decided everything in 5 minutes, right?
It did, and it cost me a whole fortune.
So, if I understand correctly, on your very own birthday, you unfortunately lost your entire deposit that you had been diligently earning for several consecutive months in a row. That must have been incredibly disheartening. Solely because for the last 2 months, for
2 months before that, I had already sold my apartment, invested the money, and made those impressive returns. And there were already some guys, big investors, who were helping me pick out a house in the city center. And in 5 minutes, I lost everything. That's it. So that's how I celebrated my birthday, and I just turned around and left. I didn't leave the market right away, but it was really hard for me, because at that point, I was already renting an apartment, and I would come home. And once again, I want to talk about this moment now, because maybe it will help someone. I started taking out loans to try to win it all back. I didn't give myself a timeout. Not at all. I didn't take any time to think about the situation. No. I immediately rushed back into the fight. Started speculating again, back to active trading. And by that point, I had already switched to the catching falling knives strategy.
What? Let's go into more detail here.
Catching falling knives? Well, basically, let me explain in more detail. So you work like I do now, on minute charts.
That's just simply scalping?
Yes, there's also scalping involved. There are different types of it too. I'm a scalper, definitely. But there are also aggressive ones. You go for, well, basically what you do is you purchase, you actively work with the available stock on very detailed, minute charts, primarily focusing on just that. As a result, you will undoubtedly make a significant number of different trades throughout your trading activities. You know, people often engage in a cycle of buying, and then selling again. And in the end, you frequently find yourself using significant leverage there. And the leverage was on futures, built in up to about 25 times. That's how much leverage I had. And I started losing again. No, at first I actually started making a little money right away. That inspired me again. I thought my previous experience would repeat itself. But no. I started losing money. I started getting nervous. They gave me credit because I had a really good credit history. I started taking out loans. And all of it went down the drain again. Because I wasn't controlling myself.
So you mean the excitement inside you got so strong that you had no brakes left, right? Any kind at all?
There were no brakes at all. And it wasn't even excitement anymore. I can't even call it excitement. There was 100%
certainty?
Yeah, no. I don't even know what it was. I don't know what was happening to me, but there was some kind of obvious psychological breakdown. It's like the classic saying. Somewhere it was written, "Son, I'm not scolding you for playing. I'm scolding you for trying to win it back. Whenever you lose a deposit, you should never jump right back into the market. Step back, think about why it happened, what led you to this. Don't approach the market You always need to take a time out. If I had taken a time out, I would have realized that my deposit wasn't completely wiped out. I still had 3x left in there. There's a big difference between 3x and 100x, as you call it now. The difference is huge. I decided that I was bankrupt, that I had lost everything. But 3x in a month and a half was actually quite a lot, too.
That's good.
Yes, that's excellent.
Hello, this is the Axiom channel. Our company develops Web3 products for businesses, and we address a wide range of issues related to the tokenization of your business and other products. We develop smart contracts, launch blockchain projects, and of course share our expertise through our YouTube channel so you can understand what cryptocurrency is. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay updated on news and new releases. This is Axiom.
But I decided that was it for me and went through a rough patch. So, that's another story that happened. After that, I left the market. That was already in August on my birthday. At the end of September, I left the market. Then suddenly I got a call from a brokerage company. Come in, please come. Please, we really need your help. All right, I came. I thought, what do they need from me? It turned out that the Moscow Exchange had started holding competitions. And even more so, why did they call me? Other traders had already appeared as well. They were working. There was a robot category. That is, algorithmic trading was starting to take hold. And they needed a robot. But such a large company like KS didn't have a robot. There was nowhere to buy this robot. Those who had these robots had invented them themselves. This one was from St. Petersburg. He was the one who later introduced me. They, I don't know, apparently weren't selling them yet, because it was still only in development. Well, all right, they convinced me, I agreed. I started participating in the competition for the best private investors in the robot category.
How did you participate in the robot category? So what was your task within this category to create your own trading criteria for the robot to operate by? In other words, to make trades? Or how?
No. They didn't even think about that there and didn't know it was possible. There, I just had to fire off trades like a machine gun.
I see.
Yes. Since I only knew how to work on minute charts, I had a much higher number of trades. I made sometimes even up to 200 trades or more. That was something I could do, and no one else did it. Well, I mean, from the environment we had at our brokerage company. And I was in this category without a robot, yes. There were robots, some from St. Petersburg, very strong ones. Other companies had them, but I worked manually.
So you were processing up to 200 transactions a day, entering trades that lasted about a minute each, which means you were trading for more than 4 hours a day, right?
I actually spent even more time than that. I would sit through the entire trading session working. I don't even remember exactly how many transactions there were, maybe more, maybe less. But in any case, you have to think throughout the day as well.
Although I
was working exclusively and solely with the intricate and complex order book, there was truly no time whatsoever to even think, because the prominent first place was consistently taken by the highly advanced Eva robot, and they consistently had up to an astonishing 5,000 transactions occurring at any given moment.
per day.
Well, I don't really remember. Maybe it was per week or some other period. I didn't try to remember. I was just told to sit down and work so that we would have a person in this category. I worked for literally about a month, I think, and I had good results. I started moving up the ranks higher and higher, and eventually, again, I come to the brokerage company, again, flowers, again, all that stuff.
Wait, let's not get ahead of ourselves. First I went to the computer.
What happened was there were posters everywhere. I got second place. I came in second place, yes, in this category. And the first place was only this Eva, and it was impossible to surpass this Eva. This robot, the first one that was invented with RTS, I think Krapishnikov invented it. Yes, we never actually met. Why? Because I didn't make it to the very end of that particular competition, even though I was prominently featured in many different media outlets, and that's precisely why I didn't make it to the ultimate end. Here, As it always seemed to those individuals who meticulously run and manage these significant competitions and various companies, it appeared that perhaps they hadn't gotten quite enough out of me. In what specific sense? They specifically added me to the women traders category, which was quite unexpected. They also added me to some other category, and each category has its own specific requirements. Here I was only working on the RTS index on futures and on the euro-dollar pair, making trades. Then quite suddenly people started coming up to me and saying, you absolutely also have to trade stocks, like well-established blue chips or something similar. You definitely have to take options. You have to do this particular thing and that other thing and this and that. A considerable number of different things, in fact. It completely and utterly threw me off, leaving me quite disoriented.
New criteria kept being added, basically. Yes, so if you were trading just one pair, you also had to show how
you trade on others. These are stocks even. That's a completely different instrument. Options are a different instrument altogether. And I was supposed to do all of this at once. In the end, I lost my temper and said, either this way or not at all, but the director said that this was already enough for us, that the company broker credit service had never been at such a level. Do as they say, slowly, as it works out. But I don't know how to do as it works out.
Yes, we've already figured that out.
Yes, and so in the end, I genuinely don't remember the exact details, but I believe I ended up somewhere significantly lower in the overall rankings. However, I am quite certain that I didn't completely lose that initial deposit, which was a small consolation given the circumstances of the competition. Honestly, I don't remember because I started having my own problems again.
Friends will provide plenty of proof. Right here, here, and here, there will be screenshots, so don't think these words are said in vain. I myself was extremely surprised when I found out this information. I don't know yet how to reconcile this, but together with you, we're looking into it today during the interview. Farida, thank you. That was a very interesting story about the stock market. Please tell us, how did you transition from stocks to crypto?
That's an interesting point as well. After the stock market, I didn't trade for 15 years.
Wow, that's impressive. Was it a really long break?
Very long. I didn't even turn on my computer. I didn't look at any financial quotes. I didn't check what was happening globally in the economic markets at all. Nowhere. I just completely closed that particular chapter and decisively moved on to something entirely different. I extensively tried out a multitude of different professional fields. It was really interesting. There was even a time when I ran for deputy. That was also a truly interesting and significant period in my life, but you really couldn't make much money there at all. The kind of money you need, since I was left without an apartment and with millions in debt. You can't earn a lot and quickly there, like you potentially can on the exchanges. By the way, let me tell you, I first heard about cryptocurrency in 2008.
Bitcoin.
Yes, about Bitcoin. At first everyone said it was 2019, but no, it was 2008. Apparently it was in the startup phase back then, or as they told us in brokerage firms, we were told to buy this new kind of instrument. No one really understood what it was. They came up to me, buy it. It's worth just a few kopecks, or maybe even 0.03 kopecks. Yes, it cost very little.
It did, yes.
This Bitcoin, why would I need it? I was managing good money, a large capital. Why would I bother with something like that? So basically, I sent everyone away. I first encountered cryptocurrency and DeFi tools back in 2016. But I didn't listen to that person, just like many others. And I said, don't bother me, don't approach me, I'm not coming back to the markets. People were mainly interested in getting me back into the market. There were many such attempts to get me back into the market, give me deposits, and that's it. But no, I couldn't because I had too many tragedies in my family. And psychologically, I just wasn't ready for it. And notice, I always repeat this, psychological preparedness. As our friend Benjamin said, you need nerves of steel.
Yes, that's the only way in the market.
And when it was already that late period at the meetups, whenever someone asked something, Benjamin would always say, it's better not to ask her anything. If anyone has nerves of steel, it's only Farida. No one else does. But that's just a side note. Literally 2 years later, yes, I think so. I was at a company that was doing small-scale business, so I encountered it from the other side already. It wasn't an exchange, not trading, which I had distanced myself from. It was specifically mining. It's production. I've always been interested in any kind of production, and I got interested in the process. And so gradually, I somehow got involved in the crypto industry, but I didn't understand anything. I absolutely didn't understand at all what it even was. What still gets me the most is the slang people use. My God, to research, to use, and all that stuff. Yeah, or to use. It's something where I still tell the guys, translate it for me. But then I started keeping a dictionary.
Yeah, basically, if you think about it, all these words are just adapted from the English market, from English words into Russian slang. Research it means to search. Yeah, I mean, well,
Yeah, I get that now. But I missed that moment back in 2015. I didn't work in foreign markets, so it was really hard for me. And then there's the particular category now, or rather the specific age group. The guys who are into this now are also not really in my weight class.
for some reason, by the way, it's actually pretty strange that the story with digital, with gold, with new and digital products is picked up more by young people than by the older generation. Although, if you look at the stock market, it worked the other way around. At first, it was the adults who were involved, and kids and the younger generation weren't interested in it.
But here, look, here's the thing. Very few people from the stock markets are making the switch. It's only the last group, those who came to the stock market in 2008, 2011, 2012. They're just now making the switch. Many, even large traditional companies, are still very cautious about the crypto industry. But this technology, the youth started with games. They played, they play, and they will keep playing. It's easy for them, really easy. For me, it's hard to even open some kind of wallet. I'm not technically prepared at all. People always ask me, Freda, you don't even know how to turn on a computer, so how do you trade? I say, you can turn it on for me, but let's see if you can actually trade. So for young people, it's actually pretty easy. And here there's a danger because it's such easy access to very risky tools.
Extremely easy. I even thought about it. Right now, registering on an exchange takes no more than 2 or 3 minutes, and passing KYC on some exchanges to start trading takes no more than 50 minutes. There's no KYC at all. You just log in and you can immediately open a P2P trade, transfer money to someone, receive funds to your balance, take a position, and you might end up with nothing or maybe with a profit.
But just like in a game of cards, sometimes even fools can get incredibly lucky. And that indeed is often the initial stage. Many people experience this stroke of luck at the very beginning. Then the luck runs out, and after that, professionalism has to take over. And that's why, as an adult, my advice and recommendation to young people is to take this more seriously. You need to learn, especially now when there are so many resources and so many people willing to teach you, though you have to be selective there as well. Yes, and be very thorough. There are so many books out there. Start with self-education, and then, even if you don't understand anything, or if something doesn't work out, only then should you consider paid courses. Find someone who has a proven track record, not someone who just claims they've made 100x or 200x. A real professional trader won't brag about that. Why? I've been asked a lot of questions too. People say, what though? Start teaching, give talks, start a channel or something like that. Before you, Marat, many people asked me, and I refused everyone.
That's truly very nice. I'm honestly and genuinely really glad that it worked out so well and we're here together today, because I actually thought you would absolutely refuse, but I put in a bit more persistent effort, and that's precisely why you ultimately agreed.
Effort, yes, you were more persistent, but here I have to thank the guys who were at Uranus's meetup. Let me tell you, you don't know this story. Uranus, thank you so much. He invited me to this meetup, and there were guys from UFA, young guys, 18 or 19 years old, a group of them. One of them came up to me, introduced himself, and asked for permission to ask questions. I talked with them, and they said, we would really love to see you among the speakers. It's so interesting. There's so much we could learn from you. And that's exactly when.
That was your invitation. Perhaps today's interview truly marks a significant new stage in your professional journey?
I don't know. I'm not really striving for that.
Well, let's get this straight. If we see a lot of feedback like we did before in the previous episode, I think first of all, it will definitely be pleasant for you. And second, it will be clear that the value you bring to people really should be more widely accessible. So everyone who is watching this interview right now, please write in the comments what stood out to you about this interview, and Farid and I will definitely meet up and read them. And going forward, I think you'll see some interesting information. Maybe Farid will be one of the next speakers at some crypto forum.
Who knows? The ways of the Lord are mysterious, and with me, that's especially true, no doubt about it.
I'm curious, how did that very first moment of registering a wallet happen? How did you fund it, and what did you buy? What was the situation that led you to enter the crypto market in the first place?
Some individuals took an interest in me, and the very first step, because I consistently kept refusing, was actually taken by Evgeny Korolyov. He simply went ahead and paid for my training in Marat Vikchataev's course, for those specific reasons. With Moonvirus I studied, yes I did.
Did you study marauding liquidity? I did. And marauding reserves? I did.
I refused too. It was Evgeny Korolev who did it. He just went ahead and paid for my training for Marat Bekchatev's courses.
You knew Marat Bekchatev?
Yes, I did. I'm currently part of his community. I really like it there. So I ended up taking his course, and I really liked the whole industry. At that point, I hadn't even thought about trading or whether I would become a trader or not. No, it wasn't even fear. I actually felt a kind of aversion to it. But the industry itself, the technology, this whole development, this method of the universe, it all became really interesting to me. And since I'm a thoughtful person, I started thinking about it. A significant number of individuals are expressing the sentiment that this is merely a fleeting and temporary phenomenon. Or alternatively, they are speaking quite negatively and critically about it, often dismissing its long-term implications and potential impact. They say the stock market, for example, is fundamentally sound, but this isn't. Here today, gone tomorrow. In my opinion, basically, it's a technology. Yes, it's hyped up, yes. I have nothing against it. There are lots of people, whether they know or don't know, who get involved. They jump in, whether they understand it or not. There are a lot of bloggers who actually hinder the development of these technologies and companies. Well, in any case, it's also incredibly interesting to be in this raging ocean of passions, as I call it. And where will this lead? For example, let me finish my thought, then I'll answer your question. I truly believe that this isn't merely the foundational bedrock. It's instead just the very beginning of some truly innovative and groundbreaking new technologies that are emerging. Why? Because now a significant amount of information and many different comprehensive articles are consistently coming out regarding the latest advancements in quantum technologies. And for some reason, I personally have this strong and immediate association with them. What was Polaroid like before?
Yeah, indeed, yes.
A very popular Polaroid. And crypto, some aspects of it. Of course, I don't fully understand everything, but it reminds me of a transitional period towards something new, big, advanced, something, well, amazing.
I agree 100%. The era of digital products with blockchain and, with purity and transparency, God willing, will bring a very positive change to our world. For some, it might be uncomfortable, but for the most part, I think it will be open. What are people waiting for? That's why, first and foremost, cryptocurrencies and blockchain are technologies that build trust among market participants, among, say, wallet owners. Because you can, knowing a wallet address, see how much money it has, in which tokens, from whom it received them, and to whom it sent them. So I think that in the near future, we'll reach that point, and things will probably be more proper here without unnecessary questions.
And look, I started trading probably after carefully taking all of the necessary courses. Although honestly, I didn't really understand anything, but in any case, that was before. But then it happened. My friends made me get back into the market, showed me how it's done. And it turned out that, for me at least, it's not that hard, just on my phone. Now I speculate. In which coins or what exactly? It doesn't matter to me at all. People ask me which coin, but I don't analyze the coin. I don't study any tokenomics, because if I were to really sit down and work as a trader properly, I just don't have that opportunity. Neither physically nor financially. I am just going through another particularly difficult and challenging period in my personal life right now, at this very moment. So what exactly can I highlight? Why do I say what I can highlight? What is it that I can truly emphasize? I don't take money under management. That's taboo for me. That's taboo for me. Even though the guys have offered to help me in this regard, like to let me work for them, to earn money on their deposits. No, that's taboo for me. And as of today, I can only allocate a small amount of funds to work with. If I earn something, I immediately withdraw it for my personal expenses. So it's like a little side job for me. But I do trade. I'm a scalper, as I mentioned before, only on the 1-minute charts. But in order to trade skillfully on the 1-minute charts, you have to do everything. That means fundamental analysis and also changing time frames, starting from the monthly, weekly, 4-hour charts and so on, studying those charts, and only then moving on to the 1-minute chart. Trading is not that simple. It doesn't mean I just open the 1-minute chart and, well, actually, that's what I do. I open the 1-minute chart and start trading. But before that, I check if it's a new coin, if I don't know the price formation, what the current price is and why, and I haven't looked at the volumes. For example, what happened over, say, at least if I enter twice a day, what happened over the last 4 hours? Specifically with this coin, I really love Rune, as I call it. On it, it's not overly volatile, like, for example, Pepe or those other meme coins. I trade those too sometimes.
So are you actively trading Pepe, the cryptocurrency? So you work with me? Well, there comes a time to work with meme coins.
Sometimes I jump into them when I need a little adrenaline.
Wait, hold on. Not that. Just a second. Memes plus probably futures, right? And that's what we're talking about.
I only trade futures.
So memes plus futures, that's, well, quite an interesting combination indeed.
And meme coins on futures too.
Double the high volatility risk. You go in to get a significant boost of energy. That's quite interesting.
No, it's not about the energy. I go in, I enter with a tiny, just an amount I can spare from my pension. Right now, that's my only official income, and for some reason, it's the minimum amount. Our government, well, not for some reason, but because I'm a displaced person. Whatever I can spare from that, I put into the market. And how do I work, for example, if has the listing happened?
Yes?
It shot up. I don't go long. I can't really work with longs. I wait until I can go short, and then I short.
Yeah, interesting. So tell me, when you actually enter the market, you typically work with various memes and specifically with Rune. Is that correct?
I do. And I don't really work with anything else. Sometimes I just go in for fun.
Got it, yeah. Sometimes you just go in to mess around. So here's a very important question for you. Have you ever perhaps been unexpectedly stopped out of your carefully planned trades in the financial market, even when you thought you had everything covered?
I get liquidated all the time.
So you mean you run into that?
Often. I get liquidated very often. Yes, absolutely. Especially in the beginning. Now it's kind of like surfing. I can stay afloat and navigate things. But at first, I couldn't count on that. Out of habit, I used to go in right away with 25 times leverage.
But right now the market is probably set up to go long the last 3 weeks or so.
Yeah, in the past few weeks, you really should have gone long. But now there's such resistance that, excuse me, if anyone entered, I told people, if you have money, buy at 18 to 20, that's it. If it goes further up, it'll just be luck for someone. So, excuse me. I have a friend like that in Krasnodar. She's always trying to trade something there. I tell her, are you an investor or not? Have you decided you're an investor? Then be an investor. And at the right time, just sell. You'll buy back lower later. That's it. You don't need to do anything else. But right now, at this very moment, there's very, very strong and significant resistance. And honestly, I truly don't see any real fundamental or substantial basis for us to break out further from this current position.
So you don't believe in Bitcoin?
Believe not the point and not the right question.
All right, that's perfectly fair enough. How do you genuinely feel about my rather bold statement, which posits that Bitcoin's price throughout the entirety of this current year will undoubtedly reach a valuation somewhere in the range of $70,000 to $80,000?
Honestly, I never really make such predictions, because it's quite challenging to foresee the future. Absolutely, 70 to 80 is an achievable level. For Bitcoin, it's attainable if the external conditions are favorable. According to technical analysis, yes, it absolutely can. Just use Fibonacci, for example, and based on Fibonacci projections, it could very well reach those levels. But the external factor, like the S&P 500, for instance, has already been showing signs in recent months, and that's not leading to anything good. A similar situation, in fact, happened before 2008 as well.
So it's possible that we'll see some interesting changes again.
It's possible, maybe not this year. Maybe because of the elections, they'll hold it back.
Yes.
They will hold it back. But when something is really being held back, it eventually bursts.
By the way, yesterday when I was looking at the market, I noticed something interesting. Yesterday was a holiday in America, although usually everything opens on Monday. Yesterday, because America was on holiday, no one was shorting. Yesterday, the Chinese entered the market. There was another big move, an upward move, a clear long position. This morning, as soon as America woke up, the shorting started again.
I didn't check. I haven't really been watching lately. I haven't been in the market for a couple of weeks now, I think. Something happened and my Binance account got locked out. And like I said, I'm not a tech person. I don't know how to get back in there. But I haven't really tried to do it either. There were other things to take care of. So basically, well, did I miss anything?
No. I guess within the context of the current market and for people who are just starting out on their investment journey in the crypto market, I'd like you to share a couple of important tips to follow when you're just entering the market. By now, a lot of people have realized that you start by trading spot and only then move on to futures.
Yes.
And at least for a few years, and only then you can try out futures.
Well, maybe a few years is an exaggeration because times have changed. Time moves very quickly now, and opportunities come to people quickly as well. But you always need to remember, when it comes to money at least, you have to learn how to earn it. The exchange is not a casino. The exchanges work. In order to earn well, you have to learn how to do it. Study, study, and study, as Vladimir Ilyich Lenin said, is necessary everywhere. So you shouldn't listen to those who say, yes, just follow signals, Oh, that really annoys me, honestly. These signals that people give, as they say to me. One of my friends who doesn't have a card transferred money to my account through P2P, and he saw what I was doing. He saw the trade I made. And on average, I make at least 50 to 60% a day. He saw the trade and he entered it himself silently without saying anything. And he lost money. No, at first everything was fine, but then he started asking questions at the wrong time, even had the nerve to call me and say, "What are you doing?" I could exit that trade in a minute.
Because you're trading on the 1-minute charts, I get it.
I'll exit because of that. I see my own market. And the person who gave you the signal isn't going to message you a minute later saying, "Guys, the market situation has changed. I'm changing my position now." And that's why, yes, some people get lucky. Yes, they get results. Yes, they make money from signals. But you need to know who you're getting them from. There are some modern traders out there, some who provide good training, but what they actually do is review their own trades.
Yes, yes. And they give some of their own recommendations, because I've seen there are a lot of signals on the internet. Take this one, set your stop here. Well, I tried working with signals myself, but I didn't get anything good out of it. That's exactly why personally, just like you mentioned at the beginning, I rely on news and the overall market background. So when it comes to signals, I still haven't found any golden tool yet. I think it doesn't really exist, because a trader who actually makes good returns isn't going to sit around telling everyone about it online. He'll just be making money himself.
Yeah, people ask me too, why don't you teach? Why don't you do this? In principle, with the status I had in the market among traders, I could have certainly done that. I probably would have made millions more than I did. with my skills. But what passed me by, passed me by. And still, as advice, guys, technical analysis. If you want to trade, you first need to decide whether you're a trader or you're into drops or you're into metaverses or NFTs. First, choose your niche. You can't do everything at once. Absolutely not. If you're a trader, then again, study, learn, and only use 10% of your deposit. That's it. No more. You absolutely can't use 100%.
Risk management.
Yes, you shouldn't look at people like me. 100% of the deposit and then at least 25 times leverage. You can't. I know what kind of responsibility I bear for myself and for my family. But for beginners, those who are just starting to learn, and spot trading, creating your own investment portfolio, you can do that at any level and for many years.
I think that's the most moderate and reasonable strategy. What does the market offer? You buy, you hold everything, and when some news comes out, you can sell, but you don't need to do anything else. If you have the time, of course, dedicate more to it. But if your time is limited, meaning you can't always be in the market, you can't always watch the charts, you can just buy, hold, and sell.
Of course, spot trading, why should you consider using it? And why is it absolutely necessary, especially at first? Because you can learn a great deal there as well. There's staking, there's using your own coins as collateral to buy and sell other coins. So there are a lot of significant opportunities available there, and you can gradually move on to exploring futures, and you can certainly do hedging on these futures, but without any leverage whatsoever. Why do I say that you shouldn't start trading futures right away? Because this access to other people's money, it's just, you really shouldn't do that. It needs to be banned like it used to be on the stock markets. If you already, some kind of restrictions should be put in place. And this free and open access to truly immense opportunities, it usually ends rather badly.
So in other words, there's just too much available.
Yes, that's very bad. There's no motivation to actually learn anything. Why should I bother learning if I can just invest $1,000 and get $50,000 to trade with? Why would I do that? Well, they don't just give you $50,000 for nothing. They give it to you so they can take that $1,000 from you.
Exactly right.
That's it. So what are the recommendations? That's all. The only thing is keep learning, guys.
Thank you very much, Farida, for coming to visit us today. Once again, I sincerely thank you from the bottom of my heart. It was a real pleasure talking with you, so this episode will be released online very soon. I think there will be a lot of interesting comments and we'll watch it together later. Guys, thank you all. It's awesome that you watched the video till the end. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to leave your comments as well. Stay in touch.
No one believed in me, but I went ahead and did it. No one believed, and time just flew by so quickly. No one believed this would happen to me today. No one believed that this is life, not a fight.